Cha.
The bigger laugh.
Why can't I have a pet giraffe? It's not fair.
It is excellent. It is a pleasure to be a part of that.
Oh, thank you. See, stop though, because you're embarrassing me and people are listening. Bryan Chaffin is here, everybody. He's the editor-in-chief of the Mac Observer. He's also a co-founder, and if you don't believe me, just ask him. He'll tell you. And I don't blame you, dude. There's nothing like that.
21 years, man.
I know. I mean, the only thing that I have that I am like part of that's still, well, I co-created Mission Log, right? I co-created Mission Log for Roddenberry Entertainment, and then there's Mac OS X, but Mac OS X is just me. Like, you could walk away from the Mac Observer, and the Mac Observer would keep going.
I am doing my absolute level best to make sure that is the case.
Yeah. And then I, on the other hand, could walk away from Mac OS X, and there would just be no Mac OS X anymore. That's the thing.
Yeah, but
it's always,
think about all the power you have.
I don't even know what they're talking about. It's always been my dream, though, to like set up something that could continue without me. And so I guess, yay, I was kind of part of that for Mission Log. I wish that had gone a bit differently than it did. Would have been okay to, well, whatever. We can talk about that some other time. Over drinks and away from a microphone. So there is a thing that I've been doing for the past couple of weeks. I've been going live on YouTube in the afternoon.
That's a scary thought.
It's fun, actually. I mean, where it gets scary is like an hour before, and I'm like, what am I going to talk about? That's the only scary thing. Once it actually starts, I mean, I've only done 10 so far. It's really only been for the past couple of weeks. But in those 10, there's only been one episode that I was particularly dissatisfied with. And even that one has gotten good feedback, and, you know, people have watched it, and people have, you know, I don't want to say people have been kind, because I don't think there have been a lot of responses to it, but I think I got a couple of thumbs up on that one. Whatever. The biggest problem I'm having with that show right now, or that afternoon, you know, group therapy session right now, is the fact that I just keep talking about Apple and Epic, and Apple and the 30%. Because that is the thing that just keeps sort of like pulling at my brain, trying to figure out a couple of things. The biggest one I'm trying to figure out, though, is why anybody thinks Apple has absolutely no right to ask for that 30%. And I've hit on something, and I'm wondering if this feels like a possibility to you. It's because the world is unfair to a lot of people, or a lot of people think the world is unfair, and they identify with somebody, even if it is a multi-billion-dollar company like Epic, standing up and saying, hey, this is unfair and it shouldn't be that way.
Are they a multi-billion or a billion-dollar company?
I don't know. I assume they were multi-billion. Give it 2 years.
Fortnite brings in $1 billion.
Give it 2 years and I would say they're multi-billion. If you're talking about annually, then I would say they're, something I heard said that they take in $1 billion. I want to say, for some reason, I've got $1.4 billion in my head. I've got 1.4
$2.9 billion in annual revenue. So yes, you were correct.
Oh, there you go.
Multi-billion-dollar company.
Okay, so they're a multi-billion-dollar company, and so people who normally feel like, well, it's not fair that I have to X, Y, Z. Then if somebody else stands up bigger, you know, than they are, to someone even bigger, and says it's not fair that I have to do this. If there's not a group of people who's like identifying with that, because they also feel like a lot of times things are unfair, but they can't stand up and say so. Is that overly simplistic? Is that ridiculous? Because I know you can make legal arguments. I know you can make cases for why the 30% might be too high. I don't understand the filial nature, I'm hoping I'm using that word right, that people seem to have all of a sudden with Epic Games.
And some people do, but a lot of other people don't. A lot of other people are very critical of Epic, and honestly, those people tend to be in the Mac space.
That's another thing I'm wondering about too. I wish I could get a clear idea of how people actually feel about this, because Fortnite players, I think, might be on Epic's side. Apple fans are going to be on Apple's side. I kind of wish I knew how the public at large felt about this, but that's the thing, right? The public at large doesn't even know, and probably wouldn't waste their time with it anyway, because, you know, they're Kardashians to pay attention to. I don't know.
I like how you say that as if that's some like,
what?
I mean, as if somehow that is inferior to paying attention to what these multi-billion-dollar companies are doing. I mean,
well, no, we all have our own things that we're fixated on or focused on. Look, man.
Okay, did I project disdain onto you?
I think you might have. Well, because look, you and I assume both have disdain for the whole whatever the Kardashian empire is. I don't even understand it. But my point was the thing that is the most, compelling to you is the thing that's most compelling to you. There are people who will still get their, hackles up because of the way CBS treated the Axanar fan film that was going to be made. I mean, that's like, I know that's a thing that consumes people's brains. My brain space has largely been consumed with politics and COVID-19 for the past 9 months. If I weren't doing Apple for a living right now, I would have no idea what's going on with Apple, because that, this is interesting and I thoroughly enjoy it. And it is something that I do care about. Politics and COVID-19 have actually kind of taken a little bit bigger part of my brain. And then it's really fun when Apple enters into the politics and COVID-19 thing as well. So yes, you might have been projecting, even though I might have actually accidentally revealed something.
Oh, all right, fair enough. So
public at large doesn't care about the 30%, is what you're saying.
The public at large does not care. Developers care. There is one. I know I got myself in trouble with Chuck Joyner. I love Chuck Joyner. Do you? Mm-hmm. I trust you know who Chuck Joyner is.
Well, he's been on this show and I've been on his show a million times, and he's the one who guided me in video, but otherwise, no.
Yeah, I love Chuck. Chuck is just, yeah. I love Chuck. I love Chuck to death. I love him. Actually, I love Chuck more than I love you, Ken. And I love you dearly.
Well, I appreciate
that. Dearly.
Yeah. Chuck's a lovable guy. Yeah, it's fine.
He is a good human being.
Yeah.
Unlike you, apparently. I don't know why I chose to.
Seems to be the implication. Go ahead.
Yeah, it does seem to be the implication. It's not really what I meant. Anyway, here's the point, man. Mm-hmm. I got in trouble with him because I said that when Apple is competing against smaller companies, mm-hmm. that Apple should be playing by different rules.
Why is that?
To wit, Spotify.
Okay.
The idea that, and I don't want to derail this too much, but I think it's pertinent to this conversation.
Yeah.
The idea is that Apple is competing in an extremely low margin business, mm-hmm. and the smaller, all the companies that it's competing against, but the bigger companies I don't really care about, because for reasons we can go into if we need to. But when Apple is not having to pay the same 30% to a third party that its smaller competitors have to pay to Apple, mm-hmm. that is an unfair competitive landscape. And I feel like Apple should have carve-outs for more companies when Apple is directly competing with those companies.
What was
I can tell you're enamored with this idea.
Well, no, what was Chuck's point? Because I'm curious.
Chuck's point of view is that it's, Apple gets to do it at once, and how dare I?
Okay, I doubt that's what he said.
That's not what he said.
It feels like his argument might have been a bit more nuanced than that. I wasn't there for it, unfortunately.
I'm paraphrasing liberally, mm-hmm. but he basically that Apple's under no obligation to do anything like that. Mm-hmm. That very specifically too, why should Apple give its competitors the baseball bat to beat them with? And to which my response is, because Apple owns the playing field, the baseball mitts, the uniforms, the bases, yeah. and it sets the rules.
Okay, that's only for the iPhone, though, which I know people who buy iPhones tend to spend more on services and more on apps. According to Counterpoint research, in the June quarter, I want to say Apple's take from services was $19.4 billion to $10.8 for the Google Play Store, if memory serves. Spotify was around before Apple Music. Spotify had an opportunity to keep my business for the same $9.99, right? Spotify is spending a lot of money suing Apple. Spotify could theoretically spend that money advertising Spotify's service and how much cheaper it is to get it through Spotify.com than it is to get it through the App Store. I mean, I don't understand the whole decision that, we deserve this because we deserve this.
I don't like. Okay, I don't like Spotify.
Okay.
I feel like music streaming has essentially become the playground of tech giants. It's become a loss leader service.
Right.
And I don't care if Spotify stays or goes.
All right.
I don't care if Pandora stays or goes. I don't care if iHeartRadio stays or goes.
Okay.
Or Tidal or any of the other companies. That's not my thing here. My thing is the principle of it is that Apple has more resources than most countries.
Mm-hmm.
And that when Apple has all of those resources, if it's going to compete against smaller companies, it should offer a more level playing field on iOS.
Yeah. Here's the problem with what you're saying. And this is not about Apple. Where was Spotify when Live 365 was going under? Because Live 365 had a pretty cherry deal with the music labels, right? Where they had affordable licenses where I could theoretically, I think it was like $300 a year or something, or I don't remember what the amount was. I know the amount was a little bit cost prohibitive for me, but not so much that I didn't think about it from time to time, because you could set up your own radio station, you could play music, the licensing for BMI ASCAP was taken care of through the amount that you paid. And the music industry, for whatever reason, was like, yeah, on second thought, you're paying far too little. So we're going to need a whole lot more money. And then Live 365 looked at it, and there was no way they could make it work, because there's no way that the people who are supporting it, again, me trying to start a radio station, there's no way the people supporting it could actually afford that. And where was Spotify then? I mean, where was anybody then? I mean, you're always bigger than somebody else. Spotify stands there and says, "Oh man, Apple's so big, it's not fair." Spotify still has.
That's not analogous. That's not analogous, though. Spotify wasn't providing the infrastructure for Live 365 to do their thing.
True. Apple is providing an infrastructure. They're not providing the infrastructure. Because they're still
providing a significant.
There are still computers. There are still Android devices. I mean, there are still more Android phones out there than there are iPhones out there.
Yes, I know that. I don't care.
Well, how do you not care?
That is not the point. It's not even vaguely the point.
Okay, help me out.
The point is about offering a level playing field on Apple's own platform, in part so that Apple's own platform can be the best. Like when Apple, do you remember when Amazon pulled in-app purchases off of their app?
Yes.
For iOS?
Yes.
Right, and it's because of course there is no 30% to give to Apple.
Right.
Right. That 30% doesn't exist, just like it doesn't exist, I might add, in music streaming. And the reason I said that Apple needs to not charge or not enforce that rule with Amazon so that the iPad and the iPhone can be the best possible platforms for buying stuff. That's what Apple gets out of that. What Apple gets out of not claiming that 30% is the opportunity to have the best platform, which brings in all kinds of benefits to Apple and its shareholders. And coincidentally, Apple eventually gave a carve out to Amazon for that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Right. And Apple should do the same thing when it comes to areas where it is competing directly, especially with the smaller companies. I'm not worried about Google not giving their carve out, because I'm guessing that Google and Apple could both give each other a carve out. I'll let them worry about that. They're big, giant, companies with all of the resources. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the smaller guys, the smaller competitors, it's simply not fair. And that doesn't, by the way, this doesn't include Epic. This does not include Epic. Apple is not competing directly with Epic.
Well, sure they are, because they have Apple Arcade.
It's not. I don't think it's analogous. I don't think it's analogous at all.
See here, because here's what I love about the 30%. Here's what I love about the 30%. You've now given me 3 different ways that it wouldn't necessarily apply to this person, but it could apply to that person, and it depends on the size of this one, and are they fighting this, and are they fighting that? It's 30%. Yes, it's 30%. Well, no,
it's complicated. If you want to cut your nose off to spite your face, do it.
Okay.
Do it.
Me?
Meanwhile, Apple has already made carve-outs for other companies in other situations. Mm-hmm. So why not make some more so that Apple doesn't look like the bully? That does not apply to Epic. Epic benefits from everything that goes into Apple providing this platform, from people trusting that their money is trusting the transactions,
Correct.
right? Because they're going through Apple.
Yep.
To all the security, the privacy, and all the other things that Apple has made possible. Epic benefits from that, and Epic feels like it shouldn't have to pay for that. I completely disagree.
Okay.
I completely disagree.
All right. I think we have to stop. Hey, by the way, we forgot to mention to people that you own. It's interesting because you wouldn't know this through most of this conversation. You actually own a tiny little bit of Apple, and yet there you were, just like, beating the crap out of them, which
Correct.
is fine because that's what you should do. I mean, you call them as you see them, as they say.
That I do, Ken.
Yeah. Well, let's just quit.